He was being tried for 4 counts of not filing his income tax.
Okay.
And our question was, well, what is to decide? Either he did or he didn't. It never occurred to us that he might actually be innocent while at the same time not filing. In the federal government, it is not a felony not to file taxes. Finally, they said, okay, if we're going to get this guy, we're going to have to put it in the state. They called up the IRS agent, Agent Craner.
Craner?
Yeah.
Robert Craner?
Mm-hmm. This is Ken Dory. He's also an investigator with the Illinois Department of Revenue.
This is a request for a copy of the delegation of authority order.
Right. And I talked to my boss about that, and he said that my badge is that.
Badge is the authority. I thought it had to be in writing.
The last question that the defense asked him was, did you write any of this down? And Agent Craner looked right at him and right at us, and he said, I never wrote anything down. And yet when we saw the video, there he was, writing notes, you know. And so I'm thinking, okay, at this point, the judge is supposed to say, Agent Craner, it is clear that you have committed perjury. It wasn't even noticed. It finally came to the climax. Mr. Harrell looked right at the prosecutor, and he said, I will tell you the same thing I have told over and over again to government officials. You show me the law that requires me to file a tax return, and I'll be glad to do it.
And again, I ask, under what is the requirement that you claim under the private duty stuff? And the requirement under the regulations is what section? My question to you is, what particular act are we discussing here that I am liable to do these things that you claim I'm liable to do?
Your exact question would be again? Okay, what is the section that what? But I guess I'm still not understanding your question, Mr. Harrell.
Well, you must be familiar with what that you have the police powers to enforce.
Yes.
The prosecutor absolutely ignored him. And he started slandering Mr. Harrell. Just started attacking his character.
They're calling us tax cheats, they're calling us fanatics, they're calling us weirdos. I don't care what you call me, but I have one question. Where is the law? Show me the law.
Can't let this turn into a rational debate, because if they do, they lose it. So they have to insult people and say it's frivolous.
We felt like that there was an overall arrogance and that they were railroading Mr. Harrell and wanting us to participate. Judge Coogan, he looked right at us and he said, I will instruct the jury according to the law. We were sent to deliberation. The judge promised us that he would give us the law. And we looked, and it was not there. We wrote a note to the judge asking for a copy of the law. 10 minutes later, we get a note back. You have everything you need. But there was no law. And he had promised us. At that point, I felt betrayed. I felt like this man promised us the law, and that's what this whole thing is about, the law. We request it, and he still denies us the law.
And the reason they didn't do it was why?
Because there is no law. Remember, we're talking about the Illinois state law here, okay, which is a law in Illinois. So we got out that law, and we read it several times, and I said, okay, wait, you know, because they kept saying, but this is a law in Illinois. And I said, look at the beginning of it. It says, anyone required to file a federal income tax return is required to file an Illinois tax return. I said, if it is true that he's not required to file a federal return, then that nullifies the Illinois law. 2 people, they kept saying, but he's going to get by with it. And I said, what is he getting by with but his rights? If there is no law, he's not breaking a law. He's just standing on his rights. Are we going to deny him that? That's when this one juror sat back and kind of rolled his eyes and he said, "You mean we don't have to pay taxes?" All of a sudden we realized that this trial was much bigger. And the ramifications of this trial were going to be so broad if it actually got out. I mean, it's like we had just discovered this great government secret. And so when we came out for the delivering of the verdict, the judge was, I'm sure, even at this point, I'm sure he still thought we would give a guilty verdict. And the reason I say that is because of the look on his face when the first not guilty was read. His face just turned white. I mean, it's like, I don't believe this. The second time, you could hear people out in the audience, just in the courtroom, just going, wow, and the judge is just getting red in the face. I mean, he was just livid. And the judge got up and left. I sat there and I thought, this truly is a victory for the people. And I have never felt more patriotic. And I knew that we had done the right thing. I looked at that man, Mr. Harrell, and I thought, the system might not work all the time, but this time, for that man, it did.
In November 2004, the government arrested former IRS criminal investigator Joe Bannister. They charged him with fraud for telling the American people the truth about the income tax laws. The jury obviously agreed with Joe.
Well, it just showed Mr. Bannister to be honest and straightforward and working within the law.
Vernice Kuglin, a Federal Express pilot, claimed there was no law requiring Americans to file an income tax. She also won in court. 24 people were criminally charged by the IRS because they claimed there was no law requiring them to file an income tax return.
The fact is neither the judge nor the prosecutor nor the IRS could bring that statute in there because it's not in the books. The jury came back with an acquittal for everyone.
Law. And to date, nobody has been able to show that there is a law for the average American citizen working day in and day out to pay an income tax.
But We the People Foundation for Constitutional Education put a full-page ad in the USA Today on July 7th, 2000. And within the body of that ad was a $50,000 challenge for anyone that could show the law. And to me, $50,000 is a lot of money. So I went after that and did the research based on the fact that I thought, let's put this baby to bed. I'm hearing all these rumors. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'll answer these people's questions that are asking me, and then I'll win this $50,000. And, based on the research that I did throughout the year 2000 and that I'm still doing, I have not found that law. I've asked Congress. We've asked a lot of people in the IRS commissioners, helpers. They can't answer, because if they answer, the American people are going to know that this whole thing is a fraud.
There is no law. There is no law that requires the average American worker in the private sector to pay a direct, unapportioned tax on their labor and compensation for services. There is no law.
I really expected that, of course, there's a law that you can point to in the law book, the code, that requires you to file a tax return. Of course there is. Maybe I don't know what it is right then as he was speaking to me, but sure. So naively, I agreed to go off and research it and get back to him. 3.5 months later, I was at that point where I couldn't find the statute that clearly made a person liable, at least not me and most people I know, and I had no choice in my mind except to resign.
I had to leave the IRS because I presented evidence that I had accumulated indicating that the agency was violating the law and violating people's rights. And I asked the agency for a response to my sincere concerns. And the answer I got was that they would not respond to my concerns, and that they would provide me with the paperwork necessary to tender my resignation.
You can look through the statutes and look for the law that requires you to pay. And when you do that, you can't identify a law that requires the average person in America who earns a wage and works in private business to pay an income tax.
American citizens, along with the foundation, have been asking the IRS to specifically provide them with the underlying legal foundation upon which they administer and enforce the personal income tax laws in our country.
At the national level, when people would attempt to contact somebody of a much higher authority, say the commissioner, same kind of thing. They would get answers that were in effect non-answers.
You have to understand that an agency which will unlawfully impose a tax that doesn't exist is not going to care. If we, the people, don't know what our rights are, they're not going to tell us.
If Americans just learned that the IRS was actually knowingly deceiving them, that would be enough for them to rise up and put a stop to it.
100% of what is collected is absorbed solely by interest on the federal debt. All individual income tax revenues are gone before 1 nickel is spent on the services taxpayers expect from government. People have been told, that you need this income tax system to fund government, which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, my question is, well, if that's true, how did we fund government from 1776 to 1913?
The main purpose of the income tax is not to raise revenue, but to redistribute wealth and to control society.
A lot of people might say, well, gee, if there wasn't an income tax, what would happen to education? They don't understand that education is paid for the most part, out of state and local taxes, your property tax. People might say, well, how are we going to build and maintain our highways if there's no money coming into the government? We need our highways. There's a tax on every gallon of gasoline that people buy. Proceeds from the income tax do not pay for highway construction.
I believe that in both spirit and substance, our tax system has come to be un-American. Death and taxes may be inevitable, but unjust taxes are not.
This small booklet includes the Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. This is a document that every citizen should read. It's a document which freed an entire nation. This is the Internal Revenue Code, and this document, and the unlawful application of this document by the Internal Revenue Service has enslaved the nation that this document attempted to free.
As we all know, that our U.S. tax system is a voluntary tax system, and we depend on people willing every year to sit down, fill out that form, and pay their appropriate amount of taxes. So I really think enforcement is a reward to those who voluntarily comply. And I think if the public does not see that the IRS is enforcing the laws, we're going to be at risk of losing people continuing to voluntarily comply.
Just when you thought the government couldn't be any more corrupt, then this whole ordeal with the taxation being a fraud hits you. Income tax, IRS. So at this point, it's safe to assume that everything government-oriented is corrupt. It's safe to assume that. To be on the safe side, just assume everything that has to do with the government is corrupt. And that includes your CIA, FBI, of course, IRS, even the school system that has ties with the government, right? The medical facet, the health, all these institutions that has their ties with the government, it's safe to assume they are all corrupt, because how else, right? Here it is, you are obligated to pay tax, but this tax you're obligated to pay, it is unlawful. There's no way they could prove the fact that you are required to pay this tax. And the money that you pay for this tax is not what helps the the government to operate, so to speak, like you heard in the clips, right? Because prior to taxations, the government has always been there doing what they're supposed to do, functioning. Even every time you buy gas, put gas in your tank, you're taxed on that. So that alone, everybody got cars, right? So that alone is enough. Even if they're trying to scheme off the top, get some money from the people to quote unquote run the government, right? They can do that. You're taxing everything, right? You go to the grocery stores, everything you buy, there's tax on it, right? Everything you do, there's tax on it. Now they're taxing you on your income also, which there's no way to prove that is lawful. It is nowhere in the court of law. I mean, they could tweak that, but the clip you saw, the lady and even the IRS members, they had to quit because there's no proof that you are required to pay tax. And when you bring that up, guess what? They try to assassinate your character, make you look like a joke. This is exactly what they do because they cannot prove something. What they do, they're trying to make you look like this unreliable individual, that you're cuckoo. You're not playing with a full deck. This is Psalms, the 94th chapter, and the 20th verse. It says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law?" In the NLT, it says, "Can unjust leaders claim that God is on their side? Leaders who decrees permit injustice." All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahahakwadash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us this truth and continue to teach us this truth. Peace, salutation, shalom, shalom, shalom to all your brothers and sisters out there that are of the household of faith, and to you, brothers that are pushing this gospel in all sincerity and in all honesty. To you all, I say shalom, right? It is just quite a time to be alive, right? The clip it's been an old clip, a lot of them, right? Exposing the fact that it is unlawful to have the people pay tax. Not only is it unlawful, there's no way in the books that says you can pay tax. No way. It wasn't found. One of the ladies said she saw an ad saying you will be given $50,000 if you can show that taxation, income tax, is anywhere in the law, and it couldn't be done. It couldn't be found. So a lot of the IRS members, when they started digging deep into this thing, they found out that the organization they're a part of is as corrupt as they come. They had to resign. One of them started asking questions about these things. Guess what? They gave him his resignation papers. So this is the evil type individuals that run the show. They know what they're doing is wrong. But instead of trying to rectify the wrong they're doing, guess what? They only want the people that are capable of proceeding with this wrongdoing, right? Because if you're trying to expose the wrong, they'll just give you the resignation paper and get away with you. Now you understand why, like they say, evil hang around, birds of the same feathers, right? They flock together. So it is safe to assume that everybody in the high positions of government, they're all corrupt because they all know about what they're doing, right? And they come together and either they assassinate, unalive those that try to expose this thing, or just give you the finger, like, get away from us, right? This is what we're seeing, especially in the clip you just saw. Hence, bringing us back to the scriptures in Psalms, the 94th chapter, in the 20th verse, it says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law?" In this case, the income tax, the heavy taxation of the people, right? It is too much. And come to find out, it's unlawful. There's no way in the law that says you're required to do so. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Now it gets you to thinking, what else are we being played on, right? What else are we being played on? If this taxation that have been around for years and years and years is beginning to find out that it's all just a sham, a fraud, what else are they lying to us about, right? So, which frame it mischief by a law. And the NLT say, can unjust leaders claim that God is on their side, right? In God we trust. They're quick to say that, right? In God we trust, this and that, the other. Well, if it's in God will you trust, why are you persecuting the people? Why are you so evil like this? So what God do you really mean, right? It says, leaders who decrees permit injustice. So all this heavy taxation is nothing but injustice. That is exactly what it is. Injustice. And they permit these things to happen. And those that are against it, guess what? They give you the finger. They resign you. They tell you to get from around here. You know? So it's safe to assume that every facet of the government is corrupt. I mean, it is what it is, right? It's safe to assume that. Because come on now. Before you even get your paycheck, they take your tax away from you, you know? This is what we're dealing with right here. Before you even can get your paycheck, they're scheming off the top. And now you're finding out that it's all a sham, a fraud. Where's all this money going? Oh boy. The 21st verse, it says, they gather themselves together against the soul of the righteous and condemn the innocent blood. So part of the clip you saw, the man was like, they were trying to persecute him, even, lock him up and throw away the key. He says, how can you lock me up and throw away the key if you cannot prove to me the law that I've broken? Right? What law is it that I've broken? You say, I'm supposed to pay my tax, income tax and things of that nature. Okay, show me in the books. And they couldn't do it. You can do it. You can do it. They just couldn't do it, man. They couldn't prove that. So this is how they persecute the innocent blood, which ties into the hopeful elect also, right? The hopeful elect are being persecuted for righteousness' sake. Those that stand so stiffly for the names, the true names of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, they also are being persecuted. But I'm just using this for the, in this regard with the clip we just saw, right? How they were ready to lock this individual up and throw away the key, knowing damn well that what they're doing is unlawful. And they just couldn't prove what law is broken. And the NLT said they gang up against the righteous and condemn the innocent to death. Oh boy, there it is right there. There it is right there. Let's bring this out in Isaiah the 10th chapter. It's Isaiah the 10th chapter and the first verse. It says, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. So your income tax is nothing but an unrighteous decree. And in this case, it cannot even be proven that it's in the law. That is how unrighteous this decree is. It says in the NLT, what sorrow awaits the unjust judges and those who issue unfair laws. There it is right there. So all these guys that have been scheming off the top, putting all these fraudulent so-called laws that can't even be proven, guess what? Sorrows awaits them. Serious sorrows awaits them, man. The second verse says, to turn aside the needy from judgment and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey and that they may rob the fatherless. So all of this they're doing is just nothing but heavy persecution on the people. They rob you of your, like they said, your blood, sweat, blood, and tears. You go out there, bust your ass, and somebody's just scheming off your money, of your income by the stroke of a pen, That's crazy, man. That's really crazy. And just a little something to put out there so you'll understand how corrupt this whole system is. This system is seriously corrupt, and it has to be destroyed, and it will be destroyed. Because there's no way we can continue like this. No way. No way, man. There has to be a righteous system that will be set up, and AI is not going to do that. You know, they have this push, right? Because all this information is coming out, they don't mind it coming out. So now they want you to depend, okay, let's not give it up to AI because humans are broken. We can't do this, but AI is able to fix it. But you forget that the AI is being programmed by humans also. The same humans that are broken. You know, that's something to think about, man. And with that, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hahakwadash. Double honors to apostles and elders of Great Millstone. See you next time, Lord willing. Shalom. Shalom.